The morning sun blazed across the Rocky Mountains of Afghanistan as Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison checked his gear one final time. His SEAL Team's 6th unit had been preparing for this mission for weeks. Intelligence reports indicated that a high-value target, a Taliban commander known as the Ghost, was hiding in a remote compound deep in enemy territory. Jake's team consisted of 6 highly trained operatives. There was Marcus Bull Thompson, the heavy weapons specialist whose massive frame could carry equipment that would break other men. Tommy Viper Rodriguez served as the team's demolitions expert, capable of turning everyday materials into devastating explosives. Sam Eagle Eye Chun was their primary sniper, known for making impossible shots under extreme pressure. David Tank Williams handled communications and tech support, while Rick Shadow Parker was their reconnaissance specialist who could move through hostile territory like a ghost. The briefing had been straightforward. The Ghost had been responsible for coordinating attacks that killed dozens of American soldiers and countless civilians. He was planning something big, and intelligence suggested it would happen within the next 48 hours. The compound where he was hiding sat on a mountainside, surrounded by natural defenses and enemy fighters loyal to his cause. Their insertion point was 15 kilometers from the target. They would have to move on foot through dangerous terrain, avoiding enemy patrols and local informants. The mission required them to capture the Ghost alive if possible, or eliminate him if necessary. What made this operation particularly challenging was that the compound was located near a small village where innocent civilians lived and worked. As their helicopter approached the drop zone, Jake could see the rugged landscape spreading out below them. The mountains rose like ancient fortresses, their peaks shrouded in morning mist. Valleys carved by centuries of wind and water created a maze of potential hiding places for enemy fighters. This was terrain that had claimed the lives of soldiers from many armies throughout history. The pilot's voice crackled through their headsets, announcing they were 2 minutes from insertion. Each team member performed final equipment checks, ensuring their weapons were clean and properly loaded. They carried enough ammunition and supplies for a 3-day operation, though they hoped to complete their mission much sooner than that. Jake felt the familiar mixture of excitement and apprehension that came before every dangerous mission. He had led similar operations dozens of times, but each one brought unique challenges and risks. The success of their mission would depend not only on their training and equipment, but also on their ability to adapt when things inevitably went wrong. The helicopter touched down briefly in a clearing surrounded by tall trees. The SEALs quickly exited the aircraft and took defensive positions while their pilot immediately lifted off and disappeared into the distance. Within seconds, they were alone in hostile territory, relying entirely on their training and each other for survival. Shadow immediately began scanning their surroundings with thermal imaging equipment, looking for signs of enemy presence. The area appeared clear, but they all knew that appearances could be deceiving in this part of the world. Local fighters were experts at concealment and could remain hidden until the perfect moment to strike. Jake signaled for his team to begin moving toward their first waypoint, a rocky outcrop 3 kilometers away where they would establish a temporary observation post. They moved in a tactical formation, with Shadow taking point and Eagle Eye covering their rear. Each man maintained constant awareness of his surroundings while staying alert for radio communications from headquarters. The terrain was even more challenging than their maps had indicated. Loose rocks made silent movement difficult, and the altitude affected their breathing and endurance. They had trained for these conditions, but real-world operations always presented unexpected complications that could not be fully anticipated during preparation. After 2 hours of careful movement, they reached their first checkpoint without incident. The observation post provided an excellent view of the valley below, where they could see the target compound in the distance. Through binoculars, Jake counted at least 15 enemy fighters patrolling the perimeter. Guard towers positioned at strategic locations would make any direct assault extremely dangerous. Bull studied the compound's layout, while Viper identified potential entry and exit routes. Tank established communication with their command post, confirming their position and receiving updated intelligence about enemy movements in the area. The information was troubling. Additional hostile forces had been spotted moving toward their general location, suggesting that their presence might have been detected. Eagle Eye set up his sniper rifle and began cataloging targets within the compound. His scope revealed details that were invisible to the naked eye. He could see weapon positions, guard rotation patterns, and potential civilian presence that would complicate their mission. The compound was better fortified and more heavily defended than intelligence reports had suggested. Jake studied the tactical situation carefully. A direct assault would likely result in heavy casualties and might allow the Ghost to escape through underground tunnels that intelligence believed existed beneath the compound. They needed a more sophisticated approach that would minimize risk while maximizing their chances of success. As they continued their reconnaissance, Tank received an urgent message from headquarters. Satellite imagery had detected a large convoy of enemy vehicles moving toward their area. The convoy included heavy weapons and what appeared to be reinforcements for the compound's defenders. If those reinforcements arrived before the SEALs could complete their mission, their chances of success would decrease dramatically. Jake made a difficult decision. They would have to accelerate their timeline and begin the assault phase earlier than planned. This meant taking greater risks and operating with less complete information about the compound's defenses. However, waiting for the reinforcements to arrive would make their mission nearly impossible. The team spent the next hour finalizing their assault plan. Viper would create diversionary explosions on the compound's eastern side, while Eagle Eye provided sniper support from an elevated position. Bull would lead the main assault force through the compound's weakest defensive point, which appeared to be a damaged section of the perimeter wall on the northern side. Shadow would infiltrate the compound ahead of the main assault, gathering intelligence about the Ghost's exact location and identifying any civilians who might be in danger during the fighting. Tank would coordinate communications and call for extraction once their mission was complete. Each team member understood his role and the critical importance of timing and coordination. As afternoon shadows began lengthening across the valley, Jake gave the signal to begin their final approach. The team moved down from their observation post, using natural cover to avoid detection by enemy sentries. Their movement was slow and methodical, as any mistake could alert the compound's defenders and turn their mission into a deadly trap. The closer they got to the compound, the more challenging the terrain became. Rocky slopes gave way to areas of loose gravel that could easily cause noise or injury. They had to navigate around several enemy observation posts while staying within their planned timeline. Each step brought them closer to either success or potential disaster. Eagle Eye reached his designated sniper position and began setting up his equipment. From this location, he could cover the compound's main courtyard and several key defensive positions. His role would be crucial during the assault phase, as he would need to eliminate specific threats while avoiding civilian casualties. Shadow began his infiltration approach, moving toward a section of the perimeter where damaged walls provided potential entry points. His mission was perhaps the most dangerous, as he would be operating alone inside hostile territory with no immediate backup if things went wrong. His success or failure could determine the outcome of the entire operation. Viper positioned his explosive charges at strategic locations around the compound's eastern perimeter. These charges would create the diversion needed to draw enemy attention away from the main assault route. The timing of these explosions would be critical to the success of their coordinated attack plan. Bull and Tank took positions near the northern wall, waiting for the signal to begin their assault. They carried the heaviest weapons and would face the most intense resistance once the fighting began. Their training and experience would be put to the ultimate test in the coming minutes. Jake coordinated the final preparations while monitoring radio communications for any changes in the tactical situation. The enemy reinforcement convoy was still approximately 1 hour away, giving them a narrow window to complete their mission. Everything depended on precise execution and a bit of luck. As the sun began setting behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the battlefield, Jake knew that the most dangerous phase of their mission was about to begin. The next few hours would test everything they had learned during years of training and previous combat operations. Success would save countless lives by eliminating a dangerous terrorist leader. Failure could cost them their own lives and allow the Ghost to continue his deadly campaign against innocent people. The compound below them buzzed with activity as enemy fighters prepared for the night. Guard rotations were changing, and Jake could see that their window of opportunity was rapidly approaching. Within minutes, they would either achieve their objective or find themselves fighting for survival against overwhelming odds in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Shadow's voice crackled through their radio headsets, confirming that he had successfully infiltrated the compound's outer perimeter. He reported heavy enemy presence, but also confirmed that the Ghost was indeed inside the main building, exactly where intelligence had predicted. The mission was still viable, but they would have to move quickly and decisively to succeed. Jake took a deep breath and prepared to give the signal that would launch their assault. Everything they had trained for had led to this moment. The success of their mission would depend on their ability to work together as a team while adapting to whatever unexpected challenges awaited them inside the compound. In just a few minutes, they would discover whether their planning and preparation had been sufficient for the deadly task ahead. Jake's voice was barely a whisper as he spoke into his radio microphone, giving the final authorization for their assault to begin. All units, this is Phoenix. Execute, execute, execute. The single word that would set everything in motion echoed through each team member's earpiece as they prepared to risk their lives for the mission. Viper's explosions erupted simultaneously on the eastern side of the compound, sending pillars of fire and smoke high into the darkening sky. The diversionary blasts worked exactly as planned, drawing most of the enemy fighters away from the northern wall where Bull and Tank were preparing to breach the perimeter. Shouts and gunfire immediately filled the air as confused defenders rushed toward what they believed was the main attack. Eagle Eye's sniper rifle spoke with deadly precision from his elevated position. Through his scope, he could see enemy fighters running across the compound's courtyard, and he methodically eliminated key targets with carefully placed shots. Each pull of his trigger removed another threat, clearing the path for his teammates' advance through the compound's defenses. Shadow moved like a ghost through the chaos inside the perimeter, using the confusion created by Viper's explosions to advance toward the main building where intelligence indicated the ghost was hiding. His night vision equipment allowed him to navigate through smoke and darkness while avoiding enemy fighters who were rushing to respond to the diversionary attack. Bull blasted through the damaged section of the northern wall using shaped charges that Viper had prepared during their reconnaissance phase. The explosion created a breach large enough for the assault team to enter, and Bull immediately charged through the opening with Tank close behind. They found themselves in a storage area filled with weapons and ammunition, confirming intelligence reports about the compound's military significance. Tank quickly established a defensive position while Bull advanced deeper into the compound. Their radios crackled with updates from Eagle Eye, who was tracking enemy movements and providing real-time intelligence about threats approaching their location. The coordination between team members was flawless, demonstrating years of training and combat experience. The compound's layout was more complex than their briefing materials had indicated. Narrow corridors connected multiple buildings, and there were several levels of underground passages that could provide hiding places for the ghost or routes for his escape. Shadow reported that he had identified at least 3 possible locations where their target might be hiding. Enemy resistance was fierce and well-organized despite the surprise attack. The defenders had clearly prepared for the possibility of an assault and had established predetermined defensive positions throughout the compound. Machine gun nests covered the main approaches, and snipers in the guard towers were beginning to return accurate fire despite Eagle Eye's efforts to eliminate them. Jake moved with Bull and Tank through the compound's maze-like interior, clearing rooms methodically while searching for any sign of the ghost. Each room could contain enemy fighters, booby traps, or innocent civilians who might be caught in the crossfire. Their rules of engagement required them to positively identify targets before firing, even when every second of delay increased their own risk. Viper's secondary explosions continued to rock the eastern perimeter, maintaining the illusion that the main assault was coming from that direction. However, the enemy fighters were beginning to realize that the real attack was happening elsewhere. Radio intercepts indicated that they were organizing a coordinated counterattack against Bull's breach point. Shadow reached the main building and began searching for the ghost's exact location. The building contained multiple rooms and appeared to have been modified with additional security features, including reinforced doors and what looked like a panic room where high-value targets could hide during attacks. His thermal imaging equipment detected several heat signatures inside the building, but identifying which one was the ghost would require closer investigation. Eagle Eye reported that enemy reinforcements were arriving from outside the compound, apparently advance elements of the convoy that headquarters had warned them about. These fresh fighters were moving to surround the northern breach point where Bull and Tank had entered. The tactical situation was becoming more dangerous by the minute. Bull and Tank found themselves engaged in intense close-quarters combat as enemy fighters attempted to trap them in the storage building where they had entered. The defenders were using their knowledge of the compound's layout to their advantage, attacking from multiple directions while staying hidden behind cover. Bull's heavy weapons proved invaluable in these confined spaces. Jake coordinated the team's movements while engaging enemy fighters who were trying to cut off their escape route. The compound was becoming a deadly maze where every corridor could contain armed opponents. Their training in urban warfare was being put to the ultimate test as they fought their way deeper into the facility. Tank's communication equipment allowed him to monitor enemy radio transmissions, providing valuable intelligence about their defensive plans. He learned that the Ghost was indeed inside the main building, but was preparing to evacuate through an underground tunnel system that connected to a hidden exit point outside the compound. Time was running out. Shadow entered the main building and immediately encountered heavy resistance from the Ghost's personal bodyguards. These fighters were better trained and equipped than the compound's regular defenders, and they fought with the desperation of men who knew they were protecting their leader's life. Shadow had to use all of his stealth and combat skills to advance through the building. Viper completed his diversionary mission and began moving to support the main assault team. His explosives had successfully drawn enemy attention away from the breach point, but now he needed to help his teammates fight their way to the Ghost's location before their target could escape through the tunnel system. Eagle Eye's position came under direct attack from enemy fighters who had finally located his hiding spot. Despite being outnumbered, he continued providing sniper support for his teammates while fighting for his own survival. His elevated position gave him excellent fields of fire, but it also made him vulnerable to coordinated attacks from multiple directions. The compound's defenders launched their counterattack with surprising coordination and firepower. Machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades targeted the northern breach point while teams of fighters attempted to surround and eliminate the SEAL team. Jake realized that they had walked into a more sophisticated trap than intelligence reports had indicated. Bull fought his way through the storage building and into the compound's main courtyard, where he encountered the heaviest resistance of the entire operation. Enemy fighters had established overlapping fields of fire that made advancement extremely dangerous. His heavy weapons and armor allowed him to survive the initial barrage, but he needed immediate support. Tank coordinated air support requests while continuing to engage enemy targets. However, their extraction helicopter was still over an hour away, and close air support was not available due to concerns about civilian casualties in the nearby village. The team would have to complete their mission and fight their way to the extraction point using only their own resources. Shadow reached the upper level of the main building where intelligence suggested the Ghost was hiding. He could hear voices speaking in Pashto behind a heavily reinforced door, but he needed to verify his target's identity before taking action. The wrong decision could result in civilian casualties or allow the Ghost to escape while they dealt with the wrong target. Jake made the difficult decision to split his team to prevent the Ghost's escape. He ordered Viper to locate and secure the tunnel entrance while Bull and Tank continued fighting their way toward the main building. This division of forces increased everyone's risk, but was necessary to prevent their target from slipping away. The enemy counterattack intensified as more reinforcements arrived at the compound. The defenders had apparently called for support from nearby cells, and fresh fighters were arriving with heavy weapons and explosives. The tactical balance was shifting against the SEAL team, and their window for success was rapidly closing. Eagle Eye reported that he could see the Ghost's convoy vehicles positioning themselves near what appeared to be a hidden tunnel exit point approximately 500 meters from the main compound. This confirmed intelligence about the underground escape route and provided crucial targeting information for the team's final assault phase. Bull reached the main building's entrance, but found it heavily fortified and defended by the Ghost's elite guards. These fighters were willing to sacrifice themselves to protect their leader, and they fought with fanatical determination. Bull needed support to break through their defensive positions and reach the Ghost's location. Shadow engaged the Ghost's bodyguards in deadly close-quarters combat inside the main building. The fighting was brutal and personal, with no room for error or hesitation. His superior training and equipment gave him advantages, but the enemy fighters knew the building's layout and fought with desperation born of certain death if they failed. Tank's monitoring of enemy communications revealed that the Ghost was preparing to activate what appeared to be a significant explosive device before evacuating through the tunnel system. This development added urgency to their mission and suggested that their target might prefer to destroy evidence rather than risk capture alive. The compound's defenses were proving more formidable than expected, and Jake realized that his team was facing a coordinated enemy response rather than the confused resistance they had anticipated. The defenders had apparently prepared for exactly this type of assault, had positioned themselves to maximize casualties among any attacking force. Viper located the tunnel entrance in a basement area beneath one of the compound's smaller buildings. The tunnel was wide enough for vehicles and appeared to extend for a considerable distance underground. He planted explosive charges to prevent the ghost's escape while preparing to support his teammates' final assault on the main building. Eagle Eye's situation became critical as enemy fighters closed in on his position from multiple directions. Despite his elevated advantage, he was running low on ammunition and could not maintain his current rate of fire much longer. He needed immediate support or would have to abandon his position and lose the overwatch capability that was crucial to the team's success. The battle for the compound had become a race against time. The SEAL team needed to capture or eliminate the ghost before he could escape through the tunnel system or activate whatever explosive device tank had detected through radio intercepts. Every minute of delay increased the risk of mission failure and potential casualties among team members. Jake coordinated the final assault phase while engaging enemy fighters who were trying to prevent his advance toward the main building. The compound had become a deadly battlefield where every corner could hide armed opponents, and every step forward came at significant risk. The team's training and determination would determine whether they could complete their mission or become casualties themselves. The situation deteriorated rapidly as enemy reinforcements continued pouring into the compound from multiple directions. Jake's team found themselves surrounded by hostile fighters who seemed to know their exact positions and movements. The carefully planned assault had turned into a desperate fight for survival against overwhelming odds. Eagle Eye's voice crackled through their radios with increasing urgency as he reported enemy movements from his increasingly precarious position. "Phoenix, this is Eagle Eye. I count at least 40 hostiles converging on your position. I'm taking heavy fire and running low on ammo. Need immediate support or I'm going to lose this position." The sniper's elevated location had become both a blessing and a curse. While he could see enemy movements across the entire compound, he had also become a primary target for every fighter who could spot his muzzle flashes. Enemy snipers in other buildings were now actively hunting him, forcing him to change positions frequently and limiting his ability to provide effective support. Bull fought through the main building's entrance, his heavy armor absorbing impacts from enemy rounds while he returned devastating fire with his machine gun. The Ghost's elite bodyguards were proving to be formidable opponents, using advanced tactics and superior knowledge of the building's layout to maximum advantage. Each room he cleared revealed new defensive positions and hidden passages. Tank's communication equipment intercepted increasingly urgent enemy transmissions, indicating that the Ghost was preparing to evacuate immediately. The terrorist leader had apparently decided that the compound was no longer defensible and was moving toward the underground tunnel system that would allow him to escape to predetermined safe houses in the surrounding mountains. Shadow pressed deeper into the main building's upper levels, following intelligence indicators that the Ghost was hiding in a reinforced safe room. The building's interior had been modified with additional security features including surveillance cameras, motion sensors, and what appeared to be automated defensive systems designed to eliminate intruders. Viper completed his preparations at the tunnel entrance, positioning explosive charges that would collapse the underground passage and prevent the Ghost's escape through that route. However, his monitoring equipment detected multiple tunnel branches, suggesting that the underground system was more extensive than intelligence reports had indicated. Blocking one entrance might not prevent their target's escape. Jake coordinated his team's movements while fighting through increasingly organized enemy resistance. The compound's defenders had overcome their initial confusion and were now implementing coordinated defensive tactics designed to trap and eliminate the SEAL team. Machine gun positions covered every major approach route, and snipers provided overlapping fields of fire. The enemy counterattack reached maximum intensity as fresh reinforcements arrived with heavy weapons, including rocket-propelled grenades and what appeared to be mortars. These weapons transformed the tactical situation by allowing enemy fighters to attack the SEAL team's positions with indirect fire, making any stationary position extremely dangerous. Bull reached the main building's second floor and encountered the Ghost Command Center, a sophisticated facility equipped with communication equipment, surveillance monitors, and what appeared to be remote detonation devices for explosives positioned throughout the compound. The discovery suggested that their target had prepared to destroy the entire facility rather than allow it to be captured. Eagle Eye abandoned his original position as enemy fire made it untenable, moving to a secondary location that provided less optimal fields of fire, but better protection from the increasing volume of enemy rounds targeting his area. His displacement reduced the team's Overwatch capability at a critical moment when they needed maximum situational awareness. Tank's analysis of intercepted communications revealed that the Ghost was coordinating with external support networks to arrange his evacuation and establish new operational bases. The terrorist leader was apparently more important and better connected than intelligence estimates had suggested, making his capture or elimination even more crucial to preventing future attacks. Shadow encountered sophisticated electronic security systems that had been installed to protect the Ghost's safe room. These systems included thermal sensors, motion detectors, and what appeared to be automated defensive weapons designed to eliminate intruders. Bypassing these systems would require time and expertise that might not be available given their deteriorating tactical situation. Viper's position at the tunnel entrance came under direct attack from enemy fighters who had apparently discovered his location. He was forced to fight for control of the underground access point, while simultaneously preparing charges to prevent the Ghost's escape through the tunnel system. The close-quarters combat in the confined space was brutal and unforgiving. Jake made the difficult decision to consolidate his team's positions rather than continue advancing toward the Ghost's location. The enemy resistance had become too intense to sustain their current attack formation, and they needed to establish defensive positions that would allow them to survive until extraction or reinforcement became available. The compound's defenders launched coordinated attacks against each team member's position, demonstrating tactical sophistication that exceeded intelligence estimates about their capabilities. These fighters were not the poorly trained militia that briefing materials had suggested, but rather well-equipped and experienced combatants familiar with advanced military tactics. Bull's advance stalled as he encountered a series of reinforced defensive positions that the Ghost's bodyguards had prepared in advance. Each room contained overlapping fields of fire, concealed weapons positions, and booby traps designed to eliminate intruders. Progress through the building required careful clearing procedures that consumed precious time. Eagle Eye established a new firing position, but found his effectiveness significantly reduced by the need to constantly move to avoid enemy counter-sniper fire. The cat and mouse game with enemy marksmen limited his ability to provide sustained support for his teammates, while forcing him to focus primarily on his own survival. Tank coordinated requests for immediate air support, but headquarters informed him that weather conditions and civilian concerns made close air support impossible for at least another hour. The team would have to survive their current situation using only their organic weapons and whatever tactical advantages they could create through positioning and coordination. Shadow bypassed the electronic security systems protecting the Ghost's safe room, but discovered that the area was empty. Fresh intelligence from Tank's communication intercepts suggested that their target had already begun moving toward the tunnel system, using the fighting above as cover for his evacuation attempt. The revelation that the Ghost was no longer in his safe room forced Jake to make immediate tactical adjustments. Rather than continuing to fight through the main building's defenses, they needed to intercept their target before he could reach the tunnel entrance, where Viper was fighting for control. Viper's position became critical as enemy fighters attempted to overwhelm his defenses and secure the tunnel entrance for the Ghost's escape. Despite being outnumbered and fighting in a confined space, his superior training and weapons gave him temporary advantages that might not last much longer without support from his teammates. The enemy assault intensified with the arrival of additional heavy weapons, including what appeared to be crew-served machine guns and possibly anti-tank weapons designed to eliminate hardened targets. These weapons could potentially penetrate the team's body armor and would make any exposed movement extremely dangerous. Bull fought his way back through the main building toward the tunnel access point, encountering fresh resistance from enemy fighters who were attempting to establish new defensive positions. The building had become a maze of hostile contacts where every corner could conceal armed opponents waiting in ambush. Jake coordinated a fighting withdrawal toward Viper's position, recognizing that their primary objective had shifted from capturing the Ghost in his safe room to preventing his escape through the tunnel system. The change in mission parameters required immediate tactical adjustments under extreme combat pressure. Tank's monitoring equipment detected preparations for what appeared to be a massive explosive detonation somewhere within the compound. Enemy communications suggested that the Ghost was willing to destroy the entire facility and everyone inside it rather than risk capture. This development added urgency to their evacuation planning. Shadow moved through the main building's lower levels toward the tunnel entrance, using his knowledge of the facility's layout to avoid the heaviest enemy resistance while maintaining pressure on the Ghost's evacuation route. His movement through hostile territory required maximum stealth and combat effectiveness. Eagle Eye provided covering fire for his teammates' movement toward the tunnel area, but his ammunition supply was becoming critically low. Each shot had to count as he prioritized targets that posed the greatest immediate threat to team members who were exposed during their tactical movement. The tunnel entrance became the focal point of an intense firefight as multiple forces converged on the strategic location. Viper held his position against increasing enemy pressure while his teammates fought their way through hostile territory to provide support. The outcome would determine whether their mission succeeded or failed. Enemy fighters launched what appeared to be a final coordinated assault designed to overwhelm the SEAL team's defenses and secure the Ghost's escape route. The attack came from multiple directions simultaneously, testing every aspect of the team's training and equipment under maximum stress conditions. Jake realized that his team was facing a sophisticated enemy force that had been preparing for exactly this type of assault. The defenders' tactics, equipment, and coordination suggested military training and experience that exceeded intelligence estimates. Survival would require everything they had learned during years of combat operations. The battle for control of the tunnel entrance would determine not only the success of their mission, but also whether the team would survive their extraction from increasingly hostile territory. Every decision made in the next few minutes would have life or death consequences for team members who had risked everything to prevent the Ghost from continuing his terrorist activities. The firefight at the tunnel entrance had reached a critical point when something unexpected happened that would change everything. Jake's team was pinned down by heavy enemy fire, their ammunition running dangerously low, when suddenly, enemy fighters began falling to precise sniper fire from an unknown location high above the compound. Eagle Eye immediately recognized the distinctive sound of a high-powered sniper rifle, but the shots were not coming from his position or any location his teammates occupied. Someone else was engaging enemy targets with deadly accuracy, eliminating threats faster than any single sniper should have been able to accomplish given the distances and conditions involved. Tank's radio intercepted frantic enemy communications as their fighters reported taking fire from an unknown sniper position somewhere in the mountains overlooking the compound. The enemy commanders sounded confused and increasingly desperate as their carefully coordinated assault began falling apart under the mysterious sniper's devastating fire. Bull used the distraction created by the unknown sniper to advance toward Viper's position at the tunnel entrance. Enemy fighters who had been maintaining disciplined defensive positions suddenly found themselves under attack from an unexpected direction, forcing them to divide their attention and weakening their coordinated resistance against the SEAL team's assault. Shadow reached the tunnel entrance area and linked up with Viper, who was still fighting to maintain control of the critical access point. Together, they began searching for signs of the Ghost while the mysterious sniper continued eliminating enemy fighters with shots that demonstrated extraordinary skill and knowledge of the compound's layout. Jake attempted to establish radio contact with the unknown sniper, but received no response on any frequency his team monitored. Whoever was providing the unexpected support was operating independently and had not revealed their identity or intentions. The situation created both opportunities and additional uncertainties about the tactical environment. Eagle Eye studied the trajectory and timing of the mysterious sniper's shots, trying to determine their exact location and assess their capabilities. The unknown marksman was clearly using advanced equipment and demonstrated shooting skills that matched or exceeded those of the most elite military snipers. Each shot found its target despite challenging conditions and long ranges. The enemy resistance began collapsing as their fighters realized they were facing threats from multiple directions, including an unknown sniper who could apparently see and engage targets throughout the compound. Many defenders abandoned their positions and attempted to retreat, creating opportunities for the SEAL team to advance toward their objectives. Viper's explosive charges at the main tunnel entrance were ready for detonation, but Shadow's reconnaissance revealed that the Ghost was approaching through one of the secondary tunnels that intelligence reports had not identified. The terrorist leader was apparently using the chaos above ground to mask his movement through the underground system. Tank coordinated the team's response to the changing tactical situation while monitoring enemy communications for any information about the Ghost's exact location and planned escape route. The unknown sniper's intervention had created opportunities, but their primary mission remained incomplete until they could capture or eliminate their target. Bull fought his way through the compound's maze-like interior toward the secondary tunnel entrance that Shadow had identified. The route required him to cross several open areas where enemy fighters could engage him, but the mysterious sniper provided covering fire that eliminated threats before they could engage the advancing SEAL. Jake made the tactical decision to pursue the Ghost into the tunnel system despite the risks involved in underground combat. The team's mission requirements took precedence over personal safety concerns, and they could not allow their target to escape after coming so close to success. The unknown sniper's support had provided the opportunity they needed. Shadow entered the secondary tunnel system and immediately encountered sophisticated security measures including motion sensors, surveillance cameras, and what appeared to be automated defensive weapons. The Ghost had apparently prepared multiple escape routes with varying levels of security and defensive capability. Eagle Eye maintained overwatch while his teammates entered the tunnel system, but his effectiveness was limited by the underground nature of the pursuit. The mysterious sniper continued engaging enemy targets throughout the compound, suggesting that they were monitoring the entire tactical situation from their elevated position. Tank's communication equipment detected signals from what appeared to be advanced surveillance systems within the tunnel network. The Ghost was apparently monitoring his pursuer's progress and adjusting his escape route accordingly. The underground chase would require speed and tactical flexibility to prevent their target's successful evacuation. Viper followed Shadow into the tunnel system, carrying specialized equipment for underground combat including portable lighting, breach charges, and close-quarters weapons optimized for confined spaces. The tunnel environment created unique tactical challenges that required different skills and equipment than surface combat. The mysterious sniper's continued engagement of enemy targets above ground provided crucial support for the team's underground pursuit. By eliminating threats that might otherwise pursue them into the tunnels, the unknown marksman was effectively protecting their rear and flanks during the most vulnerable phase of their mission. Bull reached the secondary tunnel entrance and established a defensive position to prevent enemy fighters from following the team underground. His heavy weapons and armor made him ideal for this blocking mission, but it also meant that the pursuit team would be operating with reduced firepower in the confined tunnel environment. Jake led the underground pursuit with Shadow providing point reconnaissance and Viper handling demolitions and security. The tunnel system was more extensive than intelligence reports had indicated, with multiple branches, levels, and what appeared to be supply caches positioned at strategic intervals. Tank remained at the tunnel entrance to coordinate communications and monitor enemy activities above ground. His equipment allowed him to maintain contact with both the pursuit team underground and Eagle Eye, who was still providing overwatch from his elevated position. The communication links were crucial for coordinating the complex operation. Shadow's thermal imaging equipment detected multiple heat signatures moving through the tunnel system ahead of their position. The Ghost was apparently traveling with several bodyguards and possibly additional support personnel, making the underground encounter more dangerous than originally anticipated. The tunnel system's layout forced the pursuit team to move single file through narrow passages that limited their tactical options. Any encounter with the Ghost group would likely result in close-quarters combat in confined spaces where superior numbers could provide significant advantages to the defenders. Eagle Eye reported that the mysterious sniper was adjusting their fire to target enemy fighters who were attempting to enter the tunnel system in pursuit of the SEAL team. The unknown marksman apparently understood the tactical situation and was actively supporting the team's mission despite having no direct communication with them. Viper identified several locations where the Ghost security team had positioned explosive devices designed to collapse tunnel sections and trap pursuing forces. Bypassing these obstacles required careful movement and technical expertise while maintaining pressure on their target's escape attempt. Jake's team reached a junction where the tunnel system branched in multiple directions, forcing them to make rapid decisions about which route the Ghost had taken. Shadow's tracking skills and thermal imaging equipment provided crucial intelligence for maintaining contact with their target. Tank's monitoring of enemy communications revealed that the Ghost was coordinating with external support networks to arrange pickup at a predetermined extraction point outside the tunnel system. The terrorist leader's escape plan involved multiple contingencies and backup arrangements that demonstrated sophisticated operational planning. The pursuit continued through the tunnel system's maze-like passages while the mysterious sniper maintained their support above ground. The unknown marksman's intervention had transformed a potential disaster into a viable mission, but success still depended on the team's ability to intercept the ghost before he could reach his extraction point. Shadow detected fresh air movement, suggesting that they were approaching an exit point where the ghost might attempt to leave the tunnel system. The team prepared for what could be their final opportunity to complete their mission successfully. Everything depended on their ability to move quickly and decisively in the next few critical minutes. The underground pursuit had become a race against time as the ghost moved toward his extraction point while the SEAL team fought to close the distance. The mysterious snipers' continued support from above provided crucial assistance, but the final phase of the mission would depend entirely on the team's own skills and determination. Jake realized that they were approaching the climactic moment of their operation. The unknown sniper had given them the opportunity they needed, but success or failure would ultimately depend on their ability to capture or eliminate the ghost before he could escape to continue his terrorist activities. Everything they had trained for had led to this moment of truth. The tunnel system opened into a natural cave complex that had been modified with additional passages and storage areas. Jake's team moved carefully through the underground maze, following thermal signatures and other indicators that the ghost had passed through recently. The air was thick and stagnant, making breathing difficult while they maintained pursuit of their target. Shadow's point position allowed him to detect tripwires and other security measures that the Ghost's team had positioned to slow down any pursuit. Each obstacle required precious time to bypass safely, but rushing could trigger explosions that would collapse sections of the tunnel system and trap them underground permanently. Tank's communication with the surface became increasingly difficult as they moved deeper into the cave complex. The rock and earth above them interfered with radio signals, limiting their ability to coordinate with Eagle Eye and Bull, who were maintaining security at the tunnel entrance. They were effectively operating alone in hostile territory. Viper identified several locations where the Ghost security team had positioned additional explosive charges designed to eliminate pursuers. The terrorist leader was apparently willing to sacrifice some of his own people to ensure his escape, demonstrating the ruthless pragmatism that had made him such an effective and dangerous opponent. Jake coordinated his team's movement through the cave complex while maintaining awareness of their limited ammunition and supplies. The extended firefight above ground and the underground pursuit had consumed most of their resources, leaving them with minimal equipment for what could be a final confrontation with the Ghost and his remaining bodyguards. The cave system's natural acoustics allowed them to hear voices and movement ahead, confirming that they were closing the distance with their target. The Ghost was apparently moving toward what intelligence suggested was a concealed exit point that would allow him to reach a predetermined extraction site in the surrounding mountains. Shadow's thermal imaging equipment detected multiple heat signatures clustered around what appeared to be the cave system's primary exit. The Ghost had apparently decided to make his stand at this location rather than continue fleeing, possibly because his extraction team was waiting outside and he needed to hold the exit until they could evacuate him safely. Above ground, the mysterious sniper continued engaging enemy targets with devastating precision. Eagle Eye could see muzzle flashes from the unknown marksman's position high in the mountains, but the distance and terrain made visual identification impossible. Whoever was providing the support remained an enigma. Tank's analysis of the tactical situation suggested that they were approaching the final phase of their mission. The Ghost's decision to stop running indicated that he was either trapped or confident that his defensive position would allow him to eliminate the pursuing SEAL team before making his escape. Viper prepared his remaining explosive charges for what could be the final assault phase. The cave environment limited their tactical options, but also created opportunities to use confined space to their advantage. Properly placed explosives could disorient defenders and create openings for assault. Jake studied the cave exit area through Shadow's reconnaissance equipment, identifying defensive positions and potential approach routes. The Ghost's bodyguards had positioned themselves to create overlapping fields of fire that would make any direct assault extremely dangerous. They needed a more sophisticated approach. The mysterious sniper's continued fire above ground suggested that enemy reinforcements were still trying to enter the tunnel system in pursuit of the SEAL team. The unknown marksman was effectively protecting their rear while they focused on capturing the Ghost, but this support could not continue indefinitely. Shadow moved closer to the exit area and confirmed that the Ghost was indeed among the defenders waiting near the cave mouth. The terrorist leader was positioned behind cover where he could observe the main approach route while his bodyguards provided security. Any assault would require precise coordination and timing. Tank intercepted radio communications between the Ghost and what appeared to be his extraction team waiting outside the cave system. The terrorist leader was coordinating timing for his evacuation while his security team prepared to hold off the pursuing SEALs. The window for mission success was rapidly closing. Eagle Eye reported that the mysterious sniper had shifted fire to target what appeared to be the Ghost's extraction team outside the cave system. The unknown marksman was apparently monitoring the entire tactical situation and actively working to prevent their target's escape through any available route. Viper positioned his explosive charges to create a diversionary blast that would disorient the Ghost's defenders while providing cover for the assault team's final advance. The confined space would amplify the effects of the explosion, but it would also put the SEAL team at risk if they were too close when the charges detonated. Jake coordinated the final assault plan with his remaining team members. Shadow would provide reconnaissance and target identification while Viper created the diversionary explosion. Jake would lead the direct assault on the Ghost's position, accepting the personal risk involved in what could be a suicide mission. The cave exit erupted in violence as Viper's charges exploded with devastating effect in the confined space. The blast disoriented the Ghost's defenders and created enough confusion for Jake to advance through the smoke and debris toward his target's position. The final confrontation had begun. Shadow engaged the Ghost's bodyguards with precision fire while Jake closed the distance to their primary target. The terrorist leader was wounded but still dangerous, attempting to reach a hidden weapon while calling for support from his extraction team outside the cave system. Tank coordinated the team's movements while monitoring for any changes in the tactical situation. The mysterious sniper continued eliminating threats outside the cave, preventing the Ghost's extraction team from providing effective support during the crucial final moments of the confrontation. Jake reached the Ghost's position and found himself face-to-face with the terrorist leader who had been responsible for countless deaths and was planning even more devastating attacks. The moment of truth had arrived, and everything depended on the next few seconds of action. The Ghost attempted to trigger what appeared to be a suicide device designed to kill everyone in the immediate area, but Jake's training and reflexes allowed him to prevent the detonation. The terrorist leader was finally captured alive, fulfilling the mission's primary objective despite the overwhelming odds they had faced. Viper secured the cave exit while Shadow confirmed that the Ghost's remaining bodyguards had been eliminated. The immediate tactical situation was under control, but they still needed to extract their prisoner and themselves from hostile territory before enemy reinforcements could trap them in the cave system. Tank established communication with their extraction team and confirmed that pickup would be available at a predetermined location approximately 2 kilometers from the cave exit. They would need to move quickly through dangerous terrain while protecting their high-value prisoner and avoiding enemy forces that were still active in the area. Above ground, Eagle Eye reported that the mysterious sniper had eliminated the Ghost's extraction team and was now providing overwatch for their movement toward the pickup zone. The unknown marksman continued supporting their mission despite having no apparent communication with the SEAL team. Jake's team began their movement toward the extraction point with the Ghost as their prisoner. The terrorist leader was wounded but alive, and interrogation would provide valuable intelligence about planned attacks and operational networks. The mission's primary objective had been achieved against overwhelming odds. The mysterious sniper maintained covering fire as the SEAL team moved through hostile territory toward their extraction point. Enemy fighters in the area were apparently reluctant to engage targets that were protected by such deadly accurate fire from an unknown position in the mountains. Shadow took point for the extraction movement, while Viper provided rear security against any pursuit from the cave system. Tank coordinated communications with their extraction helicopter while maintaining custody of the Ghost, who was now secured and ready for transport to interrogation facilities. Eagle Eye linked up with the team as they moved toward the extraction point, reporting that the mysterious sniper had ceased fire and apparently withdrawn from their position. Whoever had provided the crucial support had disappeared as mysteriously as they had appeared, leaving no trace of their identity or motivation. The extraction helicopter arrived on schedule despite the dangerous tactical situation, and the SEAL team successfully evacuated with their prisoner. The Ghost was secured for transport to facilities where intelligence specialists would extract information about planned terrorist attacks and operational networks. As their helicopter lifted off and headed toward safety, Jake reflected on the mission that had come so close to complete failure before the mysterious sniper's intervention had turned everything around. The unknown marksman had saved their lives and ensured mission success, but their identity remained a complete mystery. Tank's post-mission analysis would eventually reveal that the sniper's position had been carefully chosen to provide overwatch for the entire compound area. Whoever had been there had apparently anticipated the SEAL team's assault and had positioned themselves to provide support when it was most needed. The mission's success would prevent countless future casualties by eliminating a key terrorist leader and providing intelligence about planned attacks. However, the identity of the mysterious sniper who had made it all possible would remain one of the operation's most intriguing unsolved mysteries. Years later, Jake would learn through classified intelligence reports that the mysterious sniper had been a female operative working for a secretive government program that provided support for critical special operations missions. Her identity and background remained classified, but her intervention had saved American lives and prevented terrorist attacks that could have killed thousands of innocent people. The Ghost's capture and subsequent interrogation provided intelligence that led to the disruption of multiple terrorist cells and the prevention of several planned attacks. The mission's success demonstrated the importance of elite special operations capabilities and the courage of those who risk everything to protect innocent lives from terrorist threats around the world.